Welcome to the Digital Dreaming off the Good Iron Podcast. It is your host, Oscar Lee. I'm joined by my co-host of the most, Mr. Cortez Brandt Jr. And we are here on the heels of one of the greatest Super Bowls ever, which yours truly had the pleasure of attending in person, Super Bowl 58. Obviously, my boy here, Cortez, went to Costa Rica. He had his Costa Rica Bowl. So let me first ask you, Cortez, how was your game and how was that experience?
Um, I mean, going to another place and playing football is always fun.
Hmm.
But going to another place and playing football and then beating them is always going to be a whole lot more fun. So I know you guys can't see this, but we got a little medal that they gave us. It says Campeones, got another championship ring that brings my total to six
Yeah,
championship rings
there you
across
go.
various organizations and leagues. And I'm glad to bring back the trophy to America where it belongs.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
Congratulations on
my
was
right
that?
shoulder is out of commission though, so I am injured probably for the next month without
Yeah, for sure.
doing it, but
For sure.
it was worth it.
Yeah, as
It'll be
long as as
fine.
long as as long as you get the ring, right?
Yeah, it'll be fine. I don't have another game until April, so we'll be playing in the world tournaments in Mexico in
Hmm.
April, and I think I'll be okay by then.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, let's kind of get into the actual topic of the episode, the Super Bowl. Obviously, my 49ers ended up losing in a heartbreaking fashion to the Kansas City Chiefs, who have now won their third Super Bowl in 5 years. Obviously, the 49ers were leading the game at multiple points. They were leading 10-7, 10-3, if I'm not mistaken, at halftime, as well as they were leading, I believe, 19-16, and then again 19, and then 22 to 19. And then I believe it was 16-13. So twice in the fourth and once in overtime. So they had three leads, heading into, they had two leads heading into OT, and they also had one lead, in the overtime period. And obviously, the defense could not get a stop. Some people question the play calls of Kyle Shanahan because they felt that in the third quarter he did not utilize Christian McCaffrey to his full ability or potential. And ultimately, that's pretty much where we are. From my vantage point, obviously, I'm going to talk more about the Super Bowl tomorrow when I go actually on the Victory Circle podcast. But essentially, what I saw, in a nutshell, was that this team's 49ers team, there just seemed to be a lot of miscues, right? The special teams muff punt, obviously, Chris Jones, the lack of blocking assignment from Colton Kivitz on that possession. Brock, not knowing which way to slide because Chris Jones, coming out in full speed, on that last offense possession in OT. Kyle Shanahan, deciding to, try to pass it, instead of trying to run it on third and fourth. And then essentially, the Niners defense not being able to get off the field, right? I think ultimately, kind of, my takeaways from this game were that, I think the Niners are obviously the team that can definitely compete and get to the Super Bowl. But as we've seen with Kyle Shanahan, he's lost a few already. That's just my unbiased kind of take. But, that said, I still think this team is still the best team in the NFC. Now, with that said, obviously Kansas City does, have a lot of free agents, a lot of starters who are now free agents. One of them being Chris Jones, who basically says he's here to stay. But you also have Snead. You have Quill, I think his name is, the linebacker. You have, obviously, I want to say not starting, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, a huge Derek Noddy, right, who's injured. Mike Dana, who also had, that block punt, or block field goal extra point, which helped the Chiefs, kind of, secure that OT, tie lead. Otherwise, the Niners would probably have a lead heading into that, overtime periods, or they wouldn't even, maybe not even gone to overtime. So, Niners also have a lot of free agents too. Not so many starters, I want to say, mainly, more kind of offensive linemen. But I think now, obviously, the Niners are, I want to say, I'm not going to say the last year of Super Bowl window, but I want to say this year, next year, maybe probably the last two kind of golden years where they can take advantage of Brock's rookie deal. Whereas KC, you're going to see them reeling from Patrick Mahomes' deal, where they're going to have to make a lot more tough decisions as to kind of who they can retain. I do think Chris Jones will be a priority for them because of obviously what he's brought to them these last, multiple seasons, right? But I do think that, the Niners, they're gonna have to make some decisions too. I think, maybe with Debo, maybe with Brandon Ayuk, because Ayuk, is looking to make his long term. He's in the last year of his deal. It's gonna be a contract year for him. So With that said, I think ultimately kind of, my whole experience in Vegas was remarkable. I want to say, the Super Bowl itself was one of the best games, if not the best game I attended, even though the outcome wasn't what I wanted, right? And I think ultimately now the Niners are now in a position to basically make some key moves, I want to say, both in the draft and the free agency. And I think, with the NFC, still kind of being wide open, granted no teams make some major splashes this offseason, I think the Niners should definitely be in a position to run it back. I think, with that said, I think that Super Bowl game kind of, was kind of shone the heart to a lot of Niners fans and Niner faithful. But I think, winning the NFC, getting to the Super Bowl, and also, being, a team that, this whole season just has been kind of a roller coaster ride, which has been, for the better. Seeing the team, lose three straight, then come back, bounce back, and end up winning the NFC, get blown out to Baltimore, win some thrilling playoff games against both the Green Bay Packers as well as the Detroit Lions, and then ultimately taking Kansas City down to the final 10 seconds of overtime in the Super Bowl, the second Super Bowl in history, to basically go to overtime. I had the fortune to see my team compete like that. It's been incredible to watch this Niners team. It's been incredible to kind of be a fan and be in attendance, and it's been incredible to see kind of the maturation of Brock Purdy, as well as kind of this entire team. Both offense and defense. Now let's talk about kind of the major kind of obviously news for the Niners after they lost the Super Bowl. Firing of Steve Wilks, the defensive coordinator, right? Obviously, D'Amico Ryan's had this defense playing at an all-time historic level last year. This defense, obviously, they improved in scoring overall in the regular season, but in the postseason, not offseason, but the postseason, that drop off was significant. I want to say their scoring defense basically went from 17 and a half points a game down to 25.7 points per game, right? And they obviously, allowed 25 of those points to Kansas City in the final game in the finale, right? They
Right.
the I want to say the Detroit Lions game was phenomenal, but they did allow 31 points. They got down 24-7 and a half. The Green Bay Packers was probably their best showing defensively, basically, shutting down this Packers offense with Jordan Love and Aaron Jones, who basically put up 48 on Dallas the week prior to just 21 points and winning 24-21. So I mean, they found ways to win and they found ways to come back and win, but ultimately it just wasn't enough against Patrick Mahomes. But I do think that Steve Wilks was kind of inconsistent with his scheme and the secondary, as well as kind of the overall defense as a whole. I think that Steve Wilks basically, he had to I think he kind of had to adjust his scheme a little. And there's conflicting reports regarding whether or not it's Kyle's scheme, whether it's Steve's scheme, or whose scheme it was. So essentially, kind of, watching Steve Wilks with his defense, it was great to see how they kind of matured and basically, embraced him. But I don't think he had a lot of respect of the players in the locker room, as well as kind of, others, whereas D'Amico Ryan's, Robert Saleh were like true motivators of men, basically did.
Yeah.
But with that said, he called almost a perfect game against Patrick Mahomes. It's just I think the switching from man to zone from the first half to second half is really what did the Niners in defensively. I think ultimately had they stuck with the man, I think that not saying Patrick Mahomes wouldn't figure it out because he's Patrick Mahomes and Chiefs are the dynasty of the decade. But I do think that it would have been a little bit more difficult, right? And I do think had he kept blitzing Mahomes, especially on that 4th and 1, where they basically send Bosa in, he basically goes after Pacheco, except it was a fake, and Mahomes basically squeaks. Or if he basically had a spy on Mahomes on 4th down, I think that would have boded much better. It might have boded, well for the Niners. So I think the firing is justified. I think, I was reading fans' comments that, basically whether or not the Niners had won the Super Bowl, the Steve Wilkes was going to be gone anyways. And now has emerged, these lists of head coaching candidates, or I guess, previous former head coach candidates who are basically, prime candidates for the DC position. Mike Vrabel seems to be top of the list from, fans and media alike. Bill Belichick, I see the greatest coach of all time. Not sure if he'll take a DC job if he wants to come over to San Francisco, but that could be a potential opening. You also have in-house candidates, like Chris, Chris Kosuric, right? And then a few others in-house, such as Sorensen. I want to say Nick or Daniel, I forgot his name. He's been coaching for the Niners for a few years, and you also have Richard Sherman's name is floating around. I don't think Sherman is that interested in kind of leaving what he's doing with the podcasting and the media gig to kind of become a defensive coordinator, but that's a very intriguing prospect as well. And then obviously Brandon Staley is their name. He was good. With the Rams before he had that entire debacle with the Chargers where he couldn't even get over a playoff win hump with Justin Herbert. And obviously, you have to consider he had Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey during those Rams years. And then I think lastly, there's some other names floating around, such as USC's defensive coordinator Anthony Lynn's son. Anthony Lynn, who just
Well, USC might USC might work out just because knowing that the head coach is gone,
mm-hmm.
that means that the rest of that staff is going to be looking for new jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not saying that they wouldn't keep somebody, but 9 times out of 10, when a guy comes in, he brings his own team with him.
Right.
He usually fires the entire coaching staff. And
yeah,
that's just protocol. That's not anything against the coaching staff that was already there.
Yeah, and I think one thing about Belichick, which is kind of intriguing, kind of what you to the point you just made, does Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch want to sign off on Belichick, knowing that he's waiting in the wings? If the Niners are able to use him and get over the proverbial hump, which they have.
I feel like Belichick would be a good fit if Belichick wants to continue coaching football, but not necessarily be at the rigors of a head coach. That's perfect for him.
Yeah,
he's still gonna get all the shine. If he wins another Super Bowl, they're still gonna give it to him. Not to mention this is not Belichick's been in over 10, so he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He might have only won 6 as a head coach, but he's been in other Super Bowls before.
Absolutely, yeah, and exactly. I mean, that's kind of it. And he's had success against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, right? And he's basically, beaten the Chiefs, right before they ended up winning the first Super Bowl. They would have
beat them when they were the Eagles too.
Yeah, no, he did. He beat the Eagles too, and he's Bill Belichick is definitely, if him and Shanahan, could kind of, work it out, and Shanahan's willing to sign off on that, that would be phenomenal, a phenomenal pairing of Kyle Shanahan kind of handling the play calling. Now, obviously, another kind of topic that's been brought up is should Kyle get an offensive coordinator, to kind of alleviate some of these situational kind of play calls situations where it's a 3rd and 4, 4th and 4, and you basically decide not to run it. I think they're saying delegating to an OC, such as Andy Reid did with Eric Bieniemy's first 2 years in Kansas City, was kind of the way recipe for success, right? And I think Kyle Shanahan, if he's willing to kind of make that, if he's willing to make that concession, that might also be another opportunity there for him to not necessarily have alleviate some responsibility, but him also to kind of just be focused. I think Mike Vrabel or Bill Belichick are phenomenal candidate hires, right, for that DC position.
Yeah.
And I think that either one would do stellar. And I think just given the fact that the Niners do have 11 compensatory draft picks from the minority hires who have basically taken the assumed head coaching position, such as I guess now an Anthony Lynn, such as D'Amico Ryans, right, on the Texans, but a phenomenal first season as a head coach. I think it's going to bode well for the Niners, whoever they end up going with, especially if it's someone experienced in that department, such as a Bill Belichick or Kyle Shanahan. So, I'm sorry, Bill Belichick or Mike Vrabel, right? I think, we'll see how it shapes out. And I mean, Richard Sherman is still intriguing. I don't know if Sherman wants to leave. That's the thing. Does Sherman want to do it? It's really the question because Sherman's is brilliant when you listen to the podcast and him on First Take, right? I think ultimately, or not First Take, Undisputed, but Sherman would be another great hire, for the Niners. But anyways, long story short, I mean, obviously, like Niner faithful, we're all kind of, not necessarily feeling, but we're all proud of what the team was able to accomplish this year.
I just don't understand how there was no offensive holding calls on the Chiefs' offensive line all night.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there really should have been. I think
I don't believe that a football game happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
a holding call.
Right. I think ultimately, kind of, that's also another topic of contention. You saw Bosa basically getting hugged and like Usher and Alicia Keys, near the end of that game. And I mean, that was kind of I'm not sure why they didn't call these crucial calls, right? And there were multiple times where Bosa wasn't getting called for any type of hold, and obviously Drake Greenlaw going out hurt the defense, but I think the refs were able to kind of call it fair on both sides because the reason I'm saying that is because Trent Williams got called for a hold in the first or second quarter, and where Jared George had like a 30-yard completion, and it negated that completion, right? And essentially, if the refs are calling it down the middle, then that would have been a much better game when the Chiefs are basically the most penalized team in the NFL on offensive line, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, conspiracy theorists and all that stuff, right? The NFL being rigged, NFL being WWE, there is some truth to it. I mean, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, that has brought in over $330 million revenue to the NFL.
Jason
Uh,
Kelsey.
yeah, fuck Kelsey anyways. But obviously, Patrick Mahomes being, the next Tom Brady or being touted as such, that also brings, NFL some more revenue because Patrick Mahomes already done it twice. And, I mean, having a quote unquote new Tom, right, is kind of what they need, I think. Even though Brock would have also been a great, kind of, great story, to win, for being Mr. Relevant. But I think, yeah, I mean, these are just kind of inconsistencies. It kind of makes you scratch your head. And, I mean, I'm always for good conspiracy theory, but yeah, man,
I
I
don't
mean,
think that the players are in on the game.
they could be. I mean, I don't
I
know.
think that I totally think that I totally think that it's a league thing with the referees.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why the Chiefs benched Tony. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I don't understand that. Why you bench your number one wide receiver?
Yeah.
Healthy scratch in the Super Bowl. I don't understand that at all. Something may have been said behind closed doors, but from so far, there's been nothing that we've been able to
Yeah.
gather from
No.
that. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm proud of the 49ers and what they were able to accomplish. I'm not proud of the referees. I'm proud of the Kansas City Chiefs for fighting through the adversity of the juggernaut that is the San Francisco 49ers. And I just hope that they won it earnestly and that it wasn't helped by the officiating. And if they did win it earnestly, kudos to them. I don't like blaming players for the things that happen, especially because people's lives are changed by winning these types of games.
Yeah.
And it just kind of sucks for the 49ers because I really did think they deserved to win this year.
Yeah.
And no one cares what I think, but I think they deserve to win. And I hope that they can keep their core guys together. And I hope that the NFL next year provides some very good parity that it did this year. There's lots of parity in the NFL this year, and I was glad to see it. I like not knowing who was going to win. I like taking my guesses.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think ultimately kind of, to your point, parity was great this year. And I think, yeah, the Niners deserve to win. I agree with that. And, but deserving and earning, like you said, but, if there was, a take, for the Super Bowl, then yeah, that's just one of those things, it's like, oh my God. But yeah, I think ultimately, I am interested, I'm excited and intrigued because, one of the things that you mentioned, keeping the core together, there is not a single starter who is, I mean, outside of maybe some of the offensive linemen who are basically replaceable because they've not played good all year. They're like one of the bottom ranked, offensive linemen in the league. All of the major key starters are still under contract through next
Well, I
season.
mean, this draft is everybody thinks this is a quarterback draft when it's not. It's really a line and receiver draft.
It is. It's a line receivers draft as well as some great secondaries. Coming out of all these schools, and that's essentially what the non-liners need. They probably do need to get like a backup receiver. They want to get probably some cornerback and safety help, and essentially I mean Sam Darnold might actually end up playing for Minnesota because there could be interest in Sam Darnold if Kirk Cousins can't
Yeah.
work out a long-term deal.
I mean,
So I mean there's you can
Eddie
definitely get
Jackson
back.
got released today by Chicago. So
Who got released?
Eddie Jackson.
Oh wow. Eddie Jackson got released. Yeah, so Eddie Jackson's another that's a huge name. I mean, Eddie's a baller, especially at the safety position. So I mean, those are great players, who are going to be available for each. The obviously Niners have to work with their hard cap and kind of figure that out. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm very excited to see how this Niners team is able to bounce back, from this loss. And I mean, it's been a very tough couple of years for Niners faithful. The last 5 years to make it that far and not win it or come up short in the NFC Championship game with Brock Purdy getting injured, and right. And I think now, obviously, whoever they bring in for defense is going to be a new learning curve, but I think that's fine. Adam Peters leading for the Commanders to basically run his own team, that's fine too, I think, because ultimately the scouts are the ones who basically find the talent. I mean, I think Brian Greasy was one who pounded the table for Brock Purdy at the seventh overall, this not seventh overall, but the last overall pick in the draft 2 years ago. So I think, Niners, the scouting and the front office are going to basically work their magic and figure out a way to, make everyone come back as well as basically find ways to, keep everyone and make some moves and make some waves in free agency. I think, I think I just as I saw, they signed two like defensive linemen to be camp bodies from the Rams and a few other teams. And now obviously they can, I think Clelin Ferrell, Randy Gregory, these guys, I mean, they want to come back. Brandon Ayuk wants a long-term deal, so we'll see how that shapes out. But I also think, what they need to do is focus on, like we talked about, retooling, reprioritizing the offensive line, kind of showing that up. Because I honestly want to say Brock Purdy had maybe 1 or 2 seconds more on a few of those plays. Brock Purdy would have been able to make some easy touchdowns. I mean, if you have Cole McKivic's not blowing that assignment and you have, some guys, such as Feliciano or someone else on the right side, because the right side of the line has been suspect all year. And Brock Purdy was basically getting harassed all night against Baltimore. He was getting harassed all night against Kansas City too, and he was able to get the ball out and make some serious plays happen to Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings,
Right.
Christian McCaffrey, phenomenal play as well. That touchdown. Um, I think this is pretty much what's gonna help Brock emerge and actually get over that proverbial hump, right? I think getting the right offensive lineman and obviously, like you said, the holding as well as the referee and the officiating, them cleaning that up. But I think ultimately the Niners just have to kind of, retool and refocus and get the right players and pieces, which they will. I know they will. And they'll run back. We'll run back, baby, because I think now, here we are. Brock Purdy made the Super Bowl. He made the NFC Championship. Next step is to win it. Every year we're closing, to be 3 points away from winning the Super Bowl and, against the Dynasty Chiefs, and now obviously, without an offensive line, without, the right scheme in place, to play them down to the wire. I think this team is going to run it back next year, and I'm really optimistic to see how they do next year.
Right.
So, kudos to, the team, kudos to the Niners, their staff, and, everyone who supported me in the Super Bowl, man. Appreciate y'all. This was, this was my greatest experience, going to Vegas there for Super Bowl week and how insane it was, and meeting all the Hall of Famers and, seeing all the celebrities. And, I wasn't able to get pictures of any of them, but that's fine because I was able to see them. Obviously, got a video of Tyreek Hill playing pickleball. I mean, that was pretty fun. So, that it was a great time. It was a great time, They had NFC, AFC championship trophies on display. So, I made a vow not to take a picture with either one of them because, I thought it was bad juju. Maybe I should have taken a picture with the NFC championship trophy in the Lombardi, and I could have maybe, said, hey, we're gonna win this. But coulda, woulda, shoulda. I think ultimately, luck is one thing, but Chiefs had a lot of luck. That muff front again, that was just great technique, from their punter.
Yeah.
And I think kind of, this, I mean, these are the types of plays that things happen. You have to kind of adjust. And fortunately, Niners were not able to, adjust enough. I think they were able to make enough plays to win. I just think the defense blew it. And I think, Steve Wilkes being gone is going to help a lot in that area. So I'm excited for that. And I'm excited to see who they bring in. If it is Bill Belichick, then yay. NFL, y'all better watch out. If it's Bill Belichick coming to San Francisco, Kyle Shanahan running the offense, Bill Belichick running the defense. I mean, that is, I mean, even Mike Vrabel, that is championship bust. Like, I mean, this year was championship bust too, but that is easily championship bust, at least for the next season or two. So I'm excited for that. I'm happy Trent Williams is coming back. Hope we can win one for him. Yeah, that's pretty much, what my take on the Super Bowl. So, I think now, obviously, when I join my boys podcast tomorrow, maybe I'll get more details about kind of the actual experience itself, pre-Super Bowl and that stuff. But, I think this was a great season for the Niners. So moving on, obviously, I just want to kind of touch base on WWE for a little bit. Obviously, The Rock is now heel. Triple H basically rolled the dice to kind of, pulled, what is that? The what do you call it? The double cross on us, People, fans were angry about Cody not getting his shot, and The Rock.
I was okay with it. I was okay with Cody not getting the shot.
Oh, I wasn't. I wanted Cody to get the shot. I wanted Cody.
I feel like Cody got screwed, but I also feel like this bloodline story is 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Cody was playing in AEW
mm-hmm.
while this story was being written.
Yeah,
and I understand that Cody's story is important, but I don't need to see Cody versus Roman again.
Yeah.
I want the end of this story to take place. And the best place for this story to take the end was Rock versus Roman.
I mean, but if they make Rock champion, he's only going to be there for like a few months. I mean, he's not going to be like a full-time champion.
He's going to be there. He's part of the company now.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of the company for a heel turn, but I don't know. I mean,
no, The Rock got hired as an executive for TKO.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I know you've been gone for the last couple of weeks, just like I have. But like the difference is you've been on the road doing stuff. I've been in a hotel room.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm not on the field, I've been in the hotel room. But The Rock got hired by TKO. He's an executive for TKO now. That's his job.
Hmm.
He essentially is one of the guys that used to sit in Titan Towers.
Okay.
So he's going to be around for a while, if not indefinitely. You know, he's doesn't have as much power as Triple H has, but he's got a lot of power in the company.
Yeah.
He's part of the chairman. He's on the board. He's
Hmm.
not the chairman of the board, but he's on the board.
Hmm.
You know, he sits where Stephanie used to sit, basically.
Hmm. Yeah.
And he's a part of the company now. That's his job. You know, that's what he does for and part of his contract is that he has to wrestle periodically.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think,
And
that's good. I mean, that, if that's part of his contract and he's part of the company and everything.
I will say this: a Rock heel turn right now is good for bringing the fans back into the fold of who The Rock is as a wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, kind of if you remember how he left the first time as Hollywood Rock, right? And then obviously WrestleMania 20 next year, but Hollywood Rock was really kind of his last, in my opinion, full-time run-ish.
That
Or
was his real
part-time,
full
whatever
time
you
run.
want to say.
Hollywood Rock was his last full time run.
Yeah, and Hollywood Rock was just like the one of the best heels we ever had. The best heel runs
We
we
got
ever.
a lot of gems from Hollywood Rock.
Yeah.
Remember the late in the evening. I can't sing the rest so we don't get copyright strike. But when he did that cover and changed all the stuff to be about Vicky, that was gold.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
And
so you're talking about his run when we came back in 2011. I'm talking about Hollywood Rock in 03 before he
oh,
came back to stay.
you're talking about Scorpion King Hollywood
Yeah,
Rock.
I'm talking about Corey Big. I'm talking about, when we talk to
You're,
Hogan. Hey, bro, what you gonna do? Like
yeah,
that, like that type of shit.
you're talking about, hey, what's up? It's nothing. I think he knows you. That Rock.
Oh, sorry. Who
Oh,
this? Oh, it's nothing. He say he knows you.
yeah, look at you. 5 foot nothing. Oh, name all of that nothing.
Yeah. So
That Rock was fantastic.
yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I think I like the heel turn. I like the fact that The Rock is basically with the bloodline. Everyone's vying for Rikishi. This is actually even better than Rikishi. I mean, The Rock being part of
I
the
think we're
bloodline
gonna
is
get the
phenomenal.
2-man power trip.
Yeah, and that's why I think Triple H was planning this for some time. I think the goal was for Cody to basically to dethrone Roman, but he wanted Roman to really be at his highest level before Cody kind of takes from him, because Cody's been the white hot face for God knows how long now, for the past 2.5, 3 years. The Rock is basically, the guy, outside of, just Roman. And now Roman obviously be on top of his game and having the belt for so long. I think now Triple H knows, the fans, need to just kind of, be patient, and they'll get what they want. So that's the payoff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing, this WrestleMania. I know one of my boys is gonna be there. Shout out Andrew. You're gonna be at WrestleMania, but yeah, bro. I mean, this is gonna be some hype. And I think this is some real hype right now. I mean, they got CM Punk, Randy Orton, The Rock. They got LA Knight. They got Cody. Got Drew going at it with Seth. Now they got Seth, obviously. They got. I think it's gonna be Seth. Man, I know. Is it gonna be Seth and Punk at WrestleMania? Did they announce that yet or no?
Punk is out indefinitely. He's not wrestling at
Oh,
WrestleMania.
well, what happened?
Punk has a torn tricep.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's out. He got injured at the Royal Rumble, and I've I've never seen CM Punk look as sad as he looks.
Yeah, I mean, he did great in
And
the Rumble to put over
his
Cody.
eh, look, I'm gonna say this as a huge CM Punk fan who has backed CM Punk with just about everything that he's done. CM Punk grew up when he came back to WWE,
Hmm.
and it wasn't an act.
Right.
And you could tell that he was a different person than he was in AEW. You could tell he was a different person than his first comeback when he was on television with WWE,
Hmm.
and not as a wrestler but as a commentator. He's
Hmm.
a different person,
Hmm.
and I think his experience at AEW taught him who he really was.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it definitely
And
did.
he won the fans over. He put on an excellent match in the Royal Rumble. and it just sucks to watch him get injured and just not be what we needed him to be for this run. I don't even know if Seth Rollins competes at WrestleMania. He has a strained MCL, partially torn ACL, and a torn meniscus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can come back in 3 months from that.
Yeah.
And I know he will try. I know he will, because he hasn't wrestled at all. He's not going to. They haven't made him vacate the title because he's so good on the mic and his presence is huge. And I think that if it would have been Punk, it would have been the same thing. He wouldn't have vacated it if he would have had it. But I just don't see. I don't know if I put my money on it, Seth Rollins doesn't wrestle at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it'll be one of those late scratches like we had a couple of years ago with the Bobby Lashley injury.
Bobby Lashley?
Yeah, remember a couple of years ago when they had the Bobby Lashley, like they scratched him like day of.
Yeah.
I think it'll be another one of those day of scratches.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's going to be hard to sell WrestleMania Night 1 if you don't have Seth there.
Yeah. It's gonna be hard to sell. Everyone's gonna.
I mean, what are you going to do? The only way you could, because Gunther's already going to fight Jimmy Uso, right?
Yeah.
Jey Uso.
Yeah.
Is he fighting Jey Uso at Elimination Chamber, or is he fighting him at WrestleMania?
I actually don't know. It's gonna be one or the
I
other.
think it's Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think that Jey Uso will win at Elimination Chamber just because of what they have going on with Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it'll be one of those situations where Gunther gets disqualified and there's either a no contest or some screwy finish. I am concerned about Jey Uso's run now that The Rock has turned heel. I do not believe that a bloodline faction can exist without the core members of the bloodline, and that does include Jey Uso.
Well,
and
yeah,
I don't know what's I don't, because I can't see them not interfering in one of Jay's matches. I can't see them pretending that Jay is not there, and I really can't see The Rock not talking to him about strength in numbers. I could totally see The Rock approaching him and saying to him, "Hey, your family needs you, bro."
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. But I want to say one thing. I think Jay versus Jimmy is going to be box office. Ooh, you kidding me? Whether they do a WrestleMania or Elimination Chamber?
I think we might be looking at a Jay and Jimmy WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think that the tease and the Royal Rumble worked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well it works without a title.
Okay.
I think they do need some type of a title. But I also don't know where they're going with Jay and his direction, because he just popped up as the number one contender to fight Gunther for the IC title. Right. And me personally, I would have Jay take the IC title from him, and then I would have Gunther manhandle Seth Rollins at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be great. I think Gunther being world champion is a phenomenal kind of angle to kind of a great character arc.
This total squash match.
Yeah, I mean, well, whether or how they execute doesn't really matter. I just think as long as he gets it, then that's all that matters.
Yeah, I would love Jay beat him at Elimination Chamber and go into WrestleMania as IC champion, and I would love to see Gunther beat the crap out of Seth Rollins for that title, and it would start a Seth Rollins health, recovery, redemption arc, but also give Seth Rollins something to fight for.
Yeah, I think Seth has had such a great run this last year with the belt, being the inaugural champion and basically kind of bringing prestige to it, being the workhorse champ and all that stuff. I think now basically we're gonna basically, and I know you and I disagree, but I can't wait for Cody to basically have his moment in the sun, because I've just been waiting for
this. I mean, it's inevitable now. Cody has to beat Roman.
Yeah, and I mean I think it's they should have done it last year, but they're going to do it this year, which is fine. And as long as it's done, I think the fans can sink their teeth into that.
I mean, the way I would book it, and this is just me personally, I would book Cody Cody would beating Roman clean,
Hmm.
and then I would book The Rock massacring them both after.
Yeah.
I would book The Rock beating the crap out of Roman for losing,
Yeah.
and then I would book The Rock beating the shit out of Kobe. I mean, sorry, my bad on that. Cody. I'd have him beating the shit out of Cody at the end of WrestleMania, so we could start a whole new year of build-up. Does that mean The Rock needs to be there every week after that? No. I could deal with a couple promos here and there, maybe twice a month. The shadow of The Rock on Cody. The Cody always looking over his shoulder, because let's face the facts. Cody wins. Cody has to go to SmackDown with the Bloodline. And just like how they lost the tag titles at WrestleMania, and for a few weeks they were volatile, I would love to see that happen at the major championship level.
Yeah.
Is that all going to happen? I don't know. WrestleMania is a screwy place. Anything can happen at WrestleMania. We can see Cody win, and Damian Priest take it from Cody after The Rock fucks him up.
Yeah.
We can literally see that happen. We can see Gunther beat Seth Rollins, and then Damian Priest beat Gunther.
That's very possible. Yeah.
I don't see Damian Priest cashing in before WrestleMania.
It could very well be for Damian Priest cashing on Seth. That's what it could be. I mean, they tried that angle for a few months in last year, and it didn't. And obviously he came up short. But I feel like they're gonna pull something like that. They're gonna basically hype up one guy, and the other guy is basically gonna end up doing it. So that's what I think is gonna happen.
I feel like Seth, you know what they say, karma is 360, right?
Mhm.
Comes full circle. I
Mhm.
can see Seth either winning or losing, and then whoever beats or wins, Damian comes and takes it,
Yeah.
because that's what Seth did.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it all shapes out. And yeah, brother. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, let me just get your final takes on the NFL. Oh gosh.
Okay, let's start at home.
Yeah,
Uh
sorry.
well, Chicago's making moves finally today. They've showed some signs of life. Um and we're going to see what they're going to do. Ultimately, you're not really going to know what's going to happen in the NFL until the draft is over.
Hmm.
And the next 2 to 3 weeks will be very interesting as far as free agent signings go, because teams have started to drop their players as of yesterday.
Yeah.
They're not renewing contracts. They are renewing contracts. Coaches are getting picked up left and right. Guys are declaring for the draft late in from college. And that's where we'll see. The Bears getting rid of Eddie Jackson already lets me know that they're looking to spend their money on skill positions. I don't really think they're going to go draft Caleb Williams. If they do, it'll be a surprise to me. Um, I'll move on from there. I think that Minnesota is in need of a quarterback. Kirk's getting old, and on top of Kirk getting old, he has a new contract coming up, and Minnesota is in prime position to trade up in the draft for a quarterback. I
Hmm.
think that Minnesota could get a quarterback if they stayed exactly where they were, but are they going to get the quarterback that they want is the question. We're going to have a bunch of free agent quarterbacks as well. If I'm not mistaken, we have Derek Carr, Jimmy G, um, Marcus Mariota, one of the Jones. Is it Mac or Daniel that's up?
Hmm.
Um, Obviously Kirk Cousins, obviously Dobbs. Uh, I think Flacco got another year left in him too. I don't think that Cleveland keeps him.
Hmm.
And that's not saying that he didn't do great for them, but I think that they're going to stay with Deshaun
Yeah.
Watson.
Hmm.
Um, Seattle might make a move at quarterback, but I don't know if they will, but they may. Denver needs a quarterback because Russell's out. Russell's not going to be in Denver next year. Not if Sean Payton's there. And Sean Payton did not get fired.
Hmm.
Um, it's going to be kind of interesting to see where those guys land at. Green Bay's found their quarterback of the future, so they'll probably just draft some linemen,
Hmm.
maybe a receiver or two. And I think that it starts to go to the big dogs next. Philadelphia is going to try to pick up a new center. They need it. Jason Kelsey is retired. He's not coming back. He's not coming back for anything less than $100 million.
Yeah.
And they're not paying him $100 million. I think Tampa Bay is going to pick up some very key guys and be even better than they were last year. Los Angeles Chargers have a new coach that they'll be installing new things with. I believe so does Jacksonville.
Mhm.
Houston's going to try to build around their young CJ Stroud. And I think that Bryce Young may have a resurgence if he can get some receivers in Carolina. The 49ers are going to be looking for a new defensive coordinator. And depending on who they get, you might see some big names there. One of the things that I always have to say about it is big names, winning attracts bigger names.
Yeah.
So teams like Philadelphia, teams like Buffalo, teams like San Francisco, teams like Kansas City, even though they won everything, New Orleans, these guys are going to be very big targets. In Miami, very big targets for free agents.
Yeah.
So I want to see where that comes down at. I think that the sleeper of the whole draft and the offseason is going to be Baltimore. I think Baltimore revamps and adds some things, and I think that Lamar Jackson might even have his best year next year because it kind of stinks to be the MVP but always lose in the division round.
Yeah, I think let me see actually see Baltimore's free agency because I don't know. Okay, so Wink Martindale is going to the Michigan Wolverines. And then the Ravens, let me see who they have. Oh my God, they have a lot of free agents. Nelson Aguilar, Odell Beckham Jr., Davion Clowney, Dalvin Cook, Ronald Darby, J.K. Dobbins, Devin Duvernay, Gus Edwards, Justin Madubuike. Oh, Madubuike, that's a big one. Patrick Queen, that's another big one. Brent Urban. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think they have a lot of Malik Harrison. I mean, that's a lot of starters who they could potentially lose. And I think the 49ers, even though we also have a long list, and also Kansas City has a huge list. And in fact, if I can pull that up real quick, let me read this to you. Who Kansas City has as free agents, unrestricted free agents coming up. Give me 1 second, I'll pull it up. Where is that list? Okay, it's not pulling up. That's fine. Yeah, I think the AFC, you're right. I think Baltimore probably will be the best team in the AFC next year. I just think that they won't be as potent, I want to say, like as they were this season, where they basically locked up that one seed and they just ran through teams. Because I think that defense, in addition to Lamar, in addition to a lot of different factors, they're gonna be at play for that Kansas City Chiefs team. So not Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens. So yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see what happens, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Ravens and the Chiefs. And I like the chances for the Niners, obviously, but I'm obviously a homer. So, but with that said, yeah, bro, let's see what happens. Let's see. Let's see. I think my Niners are going to basically. And actually, yeah, let's go ahead. Let me get your very early preseason predictions. Who you got going back to the Super Bowl from each conference, and who you got winning it all?
For each conference,
Yep.
I don't think that the Chiefs repeat.
Yeah.
I don't think they even make it to the Super Bowl. I think they lose in the semifinal round to you know what? Let's go dark horse. They lose to the semifinal round to Jacksonville.
Ooh, Jacksonville. And the NFC.
if the Eagles don't fix their problems, I'm not even gonna think about the Cowboys being there because I don't think they will be. But if the Eagles don't fix their problems, then I would say that I don't think Los Angeles is going to get there. Either one of the Los Angeles teams. I'm going to say that it'll be a divisional round matchup between one team from the NFC North and the 49ers.
Who's it going to
And
be?
the reason why I say one team is because if you guys watched football this year, there was very little difference between the NFC North teams, all of them. I know some people might disagree with me, but they beat the crap out of each other. The Lions, the Packers, the Vikings, and the Bears, they were just swapping losses, okay? All it takes is one thing to go right for any of those four teams, and they're Super Bowl contenders, especially the Lions. So let's just not act like they're all different when all four of those teams might as well be the same team.
Yeah. No, I think definitely the Lions and the Packers are, they could definitely take a next step. And not saying it concerns me, but, they definitely are great teams, with great rosters. So everyone's going to improve. The NFC West is going to improve. The Rams and the Seahawks are going to get better. Everyone is going to get better across the board, but that's part of football. You got to retool and revamp. I'm excited for the offseason because it's already kind of hit, with Steve Wilkes being fired. I'm excited to see who they hire as a defensive coordinator. I'm excited to see who they bring in, for free agency. I'm also excited to see who they draft. I think this is going to be a very interesting offseason. And the Niners window, I'm not gonna say it's closing, but like I said, I do think the 1 to 2 years from now, basically we have these next 2 years to really kind of, hit. It's either we hit or we miss for that Super Bowl title. And so I do think the Niners are. I'm gonna go with the Niners. I'm not gonna go with the Chiefs. I picked the Chiefs just because by default, but I think it'll be someone else. I do think I agree with you. I don't know who's going to win the AFC. I really don't. Could it be Baltimore? Maybe. Could it be some other team? Yeah. I mean, Chiefs were probably a better matchup for the Niners as opposed to Baltimore because I saw them both play. Obviously, saw the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I saw Baltimore, in week whatever 25 or not week 25, but like week 18 or week 17
Right.
against the Niners. I think the Chiefs, I think like 16. I think the Chiefs, if they're depleted, the Niners can definitely beat them. But the good thing is, the Chiefs come back to San Francisco and they play at Levi's, and I think the Niners will finally, get over that proverbial hump to beat Kansas City. And I do think there will be a new team representing the AFC, and I do think the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl. So that's all we have for today, y'all. Thank you all for tuning in. Go Niners, and we'll talk to y'all soon. God bless.